Hello. Welcome to the End Evil podcast. This is Chris Jantzen. Evil is the destruction of freedom. The End Evil podcast has been inspired by the book, The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke, which you can download for free. Just look it up on the internet, or you can check out endevil.life, and there's directions to find your way to all kinds of great material there. So this is a great week. I haven't done a live show for a minute, so I'm glad to be back. Good to see whoever's here. Thanks for joining me. Hope you guys can join me in the chat today. Feel free. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook, on YouTube. You can find my links. And just go ahead and jump in and say something in the comments, and you can join this conversation. I have today with me a wonderful guest. I have my good friend and fellow truth speaker, James Cordiner from Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth podcast with me today. What's up, James? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be back yet again. Speak to you. It's always a great time. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Welcome back. And, we kind of came together this time because we're both working on a conference for this fall. And you were kind enough to invite me to be part of your conference, which I'm really excited about, and I'm looking forward to that. And then we got the Shattering the Illusion is the name of your conference. You and Joe Murray are organizing. And then we got our FUNL 2 conference, which is also in September. So we'll talk about those events coming up, and then we'll just chat and see where the conversation goes. And my kind of ideas, I was thinking a little bit about just kind of the state of things, what we can actually do in the world. There's changes happening around us. I think everybody's concerned for what's coming next. And, the main topic is freedom. And then under that umbrella of natural law. So, yeah, how are you feeling about this fall and what's coming, James?
Well, I don't know what's coming. It's a little... there's some theories out there, I guess, but I do know a couple of things that are coming to our conferences, and I'm feeling really, really good about those. There is a very, very good reason to be doing these online events, preferably in person, but it's convenient to be able to use this technology to be able to pull off something like this online. Makes it very much more accessible to both the viewer and the speakers to be able to come together, and to produce like this material that needs to be shared, that needs to be put back out there to act as sort of a blockade, or sort of a pushback against all the evil stuff that's being put out there. We really starts with the voice, and goes on from there to other ways, but we can start with the voice. That's the important thing. The condition of the world is really deteriorating even quicker than maybe a lot of people, a lot of people these days would expect it to. There's certainly a lot of people that have seen this something coming for a long time. And even the past couple of years with, the sickness and the scamdemic type of situation that's been going on, like there's even more people that are like, oh, what next? Oh, they're all afraid. And that's a hell of a thing to be going through, is all that fear. And it's really just, excuse me, it's really just terrible. Unfortunately, it's not over. We've been getting a little tricked lately, in my opinion, that maybe it's over. The stories on the news have been different. Of course, it's their election year and everything, and it's a total mess out there. But you see stupid court trials of celebrities and everything like that, and it's all distraction, bread and circuses, distraction methods and everything. Meanwhile, they're the bitch that was selling the kit, like Ghislaine Maxwell, gets sentenced and everything, found guilty, but none of her customers are brought forward. No one cares about that. They care about some other person taking a dump on Johnny Depp's bed. They care about that. They don't care about anything else but this superficial garbage. Meanwhile, people are talking about these celebrities and all this other bullshit, and even just today a bill was passed, a bill was passed about domestic terrorism and everything. They were trying to do a disinformation governance board that was getting a little bit of traction, and they shut that down. All these things are happening in the background that are going to affect us whether we believe in it or not. And it's like, exactly, yeah. I see Will in the chat already. Shadows on the wall. It's Plato's cave.
Yeah, right.
It's Plato's cave in real life. And it's like, dude, what's coming down the pike is seriously something fucking terrible. Excuse me. I don't like to curse, but I know you're all right with it. There's about to be a treaty signed.
I'm a construction guy.
And
we speak in curse words.
Yeah. I'm a trash guy. I feel you. Yeah. But like there's this treaty about to be signed from the World Health Organization, basically saying like, we can declare a pandemic, and when we do, like we're in charge. And any country that signs on to this is basically handing over the reins to it's globalism 101, folks. It's really what it boils down to. So this is the shadows on the wall. And meanwhile, what's really going on is like terrible things that are going to affect us, whether we sign on or agree with it or not. It's still going to be something happening in the world that affects us. So that brings us back to like, what can we do to push back? I mean, there could be some very tough times ahead, but what can we really do right now to maybe help avoid some of the crazy shit that could be coming? I guess the same stuff that we've been doing for quite a while now is speak about it, raise awareness about it, try to get people to realize that the life that they want to have is not going to be something that they can have anymore. And it's very, very true. It's very possible. Kind of rambling on a little bit here, but
honestly, I think we can have a lot better quality of life and a lot better future than we might think. But it's going to require a different level of how we interact with one another, and that's really the topic that I'm going to be working on heading towards these conferences coming in this fall. I've been really noticing how important the facet of communication is. Yeah, well, this is a great episode to clean my Mossberg too. Yeah, well, I mean, we're in the time where we're having to think those things. I'm definitely working on my own personal self-defense measures and thinking about what am I going to do if things get worse quickly. But I also have to admit, on the other hand, like I was telling you before the show, I had kind of a dire prediction when 2020 hit, and when I saw what was happening with stores being shut down. I thought we had like 3 to 4 months before people were, rioting and in the streets because of food shortages and that type of thing. And that didn't come to be. So my prediction was obviously a little harsh. But what I saw in the extent of the problem, I realized that the extent of the problem is far worse than I thought, and then going forward, we see now like gas is basically double what it was, not a very short time ago. Prices of like wood, for instance, you go buy some lumber at the lumber store, it's like close to double in some cases, very, very high. There is a fallout still happening from everything that's gone on for the last couple of years. So I do predict a lot more problems. But what I want to talk about and bring forward to people in communities is building our communities and building and strengthening our connections. And I think that's why this topic we came up for FUNL 2 called convergence. The idea there being that we stop letting ourselves being so split up from all these little details, and we start converging on what really matters. And we focus in unity on what actually does matter, which is the topic of freedom. Right? freedom is the thing that we need to be caring about and looking at and considering. What is freedom? What is it not? How can we start working on getting it back if we ever had it, or instituting it in a real way? And natural law is the understanding of natural law, I think, the way to get there. But how do we get other people there? By speaking out. And that's what we're trying to do. And I think it's more than just how many ears we reach tonight or tomorrow night, or in this conference. There's a spiritual facet to being on the side of working in the right direction rather than digging the hole deeper, which is what many of us have been doing most of our lives, from my point of view. How does that strike you?
I mean, it strikes pretty close with me. I mean, I've been struggling for a long time, on the search for, the idea of figuring out more spirituality, figuring out where I am, where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where am I at in life? And it's been about almost 20 years now that I've been really like asking these types of questions, where I was in my teens when I started like kind of rethinking the whole spirituality thing and kind of trying to see what's going on. It's been like this back and forth and everything. Yeah, what you're saying really kind of strikes home with me, is trying to, but these days I really just want to like talk to people about, like, hey, we got all these problems, and yeah, like you can get really stuck there focusing on them, but like I really want to start focusing on solutions. And even if the problems that like could happen don't happen, so I said could happen. If those things that could happen don't happen, but the solutions are still important and they're going to apply even if those really, really terrible things don't happen. So like building communities and networking, like what you're focusing on, that's either which way a fucking amazing thing to focus on, So, I mean, yeah, we have all these terrible things behind us. Who knows what the future is going to hold? So either which way, wouldn't we want to like have a future where we're focusing on these really, really good ideas, where like, this is what we're accomplishing, So we just got through all the terrible stuff. Let's focus on, let's manifest some good shit instead of like perpetuating this terrible cycle of just bad things happening, Natural law is definitely the key to all of it, So starting there and getting people to have a foundational understanding of natural law, in my opinion, is probably the most important thing. And if they can start having something like that, tucked away in their tool belt, so to speak, then, hey, we're making some good headway, and we're, making a better future. It's all about that future, and having a better one. It's tough.
Manifest some good shit. That's what we got to be doing, says Misty. That's a good comment.
Yeah. Bang.
It got me to thinking about something I talked about. Yeah. Little explosions. In an early presentation I did way back in 2020, the year before, I had gone on this trip to London and France. And I can't remember which museum it was in, but one of those big fancy museums with, some of these classical pieces of art has this sculpture. I think its name's Rodin. It's called the Gates of Hell. And it shows like, it's like this tower, and it shows like all this nasty stuff going on and people like crawling their way towards the top. And I sat there staring at it, and it kind of brought a tear to my eye. And I started thinking about just like the big picture of our world, how people are like literally stepping on each other's heads and crawling over one another to kind of get to the top, like rats in a maze. That it's really a chaotic, kind of sad situation where, we have all these people, and most people, I think, honestly want to do the right thing and want to be doing something good. And if we work together, we could be doing something really fantastic. We could all be, lifting each other up out of the gates of hell, right? But instead, what we're doing is actually dragging each other down into it.
Yeah.
And that's happening on a regular basis, even with people we love. We have so much hard time getting along with each other in this world right now. And so there's inner work that needs to go on for us to be in good enough shape to even build a community. And that's kind of what I'm realizing. You know, so many people are so traumatized, they barely have the ability to get along with their brothers and sisters, much less, you know, the people across the street.
See, the problem that the problem kind of comes up where it's like the things that people have been told. It's like moral relativism. You said that people just want that you think people want to do good. Then I agree with you. I think that people want to, but it's what their idea of good is really actually it's not correct. A lot of people out there have a very they have a misunderstanding of what good is, you know, and they think that they're doing good while stepping on another person's head to climb that fake ass ladder to the top. And it's like, well, like that's why it's very important to have objective morality and natural law being a main focus, especially the the objective morality part. If you can't get across all the inner workings and fine-tuned, clear, concise, effectively communicating natural law to somebody, at least get down objective morality, and a lot of other pieces over kind of a more extended period of time will start falling into place, as long as that objective morality is really just drilled into people's heads about the real clear differences between right and wrong action. So it's like, I think that's where a lot of these problems come from these days, is that people think that they're doing right because it's right for me, not, I don't care about anyone else. It's right for me. So it's like that element of care is dead. And so it's how we got here. I don't see any other way. I mean, it could be my opinion, but I kind of lean more toward that's just the facts of the matter. Is like, that's how we got here where we are today. It's like people just don't give a fuck about anyone else but themselves. And maybe a little bit of care is extended to their immediate families, because you got to put that smile on. You got to be a good person, even if you got to fake it to make it type of bullshit, but you're not really a good person, are you? Like, you're just doing enough just to scrape by. You're not making any hard sacrifices. You're not really doing the fucking right thing. You're doing what's right for you, not for anyone else. And that's that. And that's that type of attitude that's led us down this path of just moral relativism. And we're never going to get out of it until people start waking the fuck up to start doing the right thing, instead of just what's right for them, what's just objectively right. And I get upset a little bit about this because I deal with this on a daily basis in my personal life with people that I grew up telling me how to be a good person, and turns out they're just scumbags. It's like they're liars and cheats, and it's just like, whoa, it's really eye-opening, and it's really upsetting. And that's about as much as I really want to say about these people. But like, it's like, that's why I get such I have like kind of a visceral reaction to these types of topics, and like seeing just how degenerated people's morality is, just how low, and just, it's just not good behavior. It's what got us here. That's my
like
point.
we look at the things that brought us to that shape, right? And I came up with this idea, like moral relativism. You could say that moral real TV-ism, right? Because what we all have is this shared reality, and that's what makes us kind of on this same plane, right? But we also have this shared alternate reality that started when we were little kids and we started watching cartoons and commercials and movies, right? And through all these years, we're watching this stuff, and it's like this whole other reality that's being formed in our minds, right? And it's subtle because we have to say, oh, it's not real, it's just fake. But it does become real. It takes up space in our minds. And I've thought about it this way. I could meet someone I've never met before from the opposite end of the country, and we start talking about the Smurfs. We both know exactly what we're talking about, right? we know about Papa Smurf and we know about
Gilgamesh,
right? It's like we have this whole shared experience, almost like we lived in the same place together, right? It's kind of weird when you think about it, that this fake world has actually been made real, to the extent that it's all in our brains and we all have this shared fake reality. And in that shared fake reality, there is no really law, and so people are kind of used to this idea that there is no law other than what we make, what the government makes or what the city makes. There's not an inherent law. But I think if we would spend our whole life in nature from the time we were born to the time now, I think it would be pretty hard to shut it out, because it's very natural when you're close to nature and you're close to the flow of life, that there's a harsh reality to life, that if you do certain things or you don't do certain things, there's going to be these reactions, and there's going to be actions. And whereas now we're all hiding behind these screens, and we've been kind of affected by years and years of these different levels of indoctrination.
Well, it's mind control. That's where it really starts, is like in those formative years as a child. Like you're bringing it back to that stage in people's lives, is like from children. You're talking about the Smurfs, like pretty good example of cartoons and everything kind of coming in and forming a view of reality within a young child's mind, and that's going to stick there and it's going to stay with them for a very long time. It's very hard to undo that programming. Now, you could sit there and enjoy a television show as a child. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying maybe it's the job of the parent to supervise that, and when some bullshit's going on, point it out and say, hey, that's not really how things go down. But if we look at it like, if we look at it, if we look at it, we can also see many instances where the mind control gets amped up. The volume, the volume on that gets turned up a lot when you see movies and television shows that are depicting who the good guys are. These moments of anchoring where the superhero lands in front of an American flag, after beating the bad guy, and it's like that's in the background on the screen in the scene of the movie. It's in the background. And it's a reflection of where it's going to go in your mind, too, because you're focused on Spider-Man, but behind Spider-Man is an American flag. That American flag is going in your subconscious. You're going to associate that American flag with a superhero. And your association...
Make America great again!
Right. But, this has been going on for decades. So it's like, it's called anchoring. And they do that. It's mind control. It's literally to give you their view of reality. It's a prescribed belief, in a sense, where they're going to imprint these moments into your brain, and subconsciously you're going to associate the hero with the American flag, and therefore the American flag means justice and it's the right thing to do, and the cops got the bad guy, and the whole movie, it's like it's all a bunch of mind control, and like to your point about nature, if you spent there was this quote going around a couple years back when all the fear was getting ramped up. I forget who really said it, but it was something along the lines of like, there's a guy out in the woods right now with no phone, no TV, and no idea how afraid he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's absolutely right. And, it goes to show like how many people would have been freaking out if they didn't see everybody rushing to the store to get the toilet paper, Like how many people would be freaking out right now about the possibilities of the future, and it can work both ways. So it's kind of, informative, but also detrimental to our mental health, but it's also good in some aspects to prepare us for, I am not going to let that shit happen to me when you see something like what's going on in Shanghai. And then, so that's all under the assumption that it's all true. They could be fabricating all of it. They make fucking movies that make it look like a dude is jumping from a goddamn airplane with no parachute from like thousands of feet up in the air, and he just lands and everything's okay. And it's like, it doesn't happen in real life. So I have very little trust in any media at all. It's like,
the most news I've had in weeks was what you just told me in the beginning of the show. I have no idea what they're talking about on the news stream or the news circle. I don't even like alternative shows that concentrate on that news cycle, because to me it's just so distracting and it's so not important. And when you actually cut it out of your life, it's amazing how little it affects reality. You know, it's just most of the stuff that's being talked about is not even relevant in the littlest bit to our lives, you know. And here's an interesting thing I went through. Okay, probably about 7 years before COVID, 2000, that was 2020. So I'm talking 2012, 2013, somewhere in there was when I really started looking into the subject of weather engineering and geoengineering, chemtrails, right? And for me, that was a heavy subject to get into, because it's a tricky subject, right? It's difficult to find straight answers. But the more I looked at it, the more I come to the conclusion that, you know, it's very likely that we're all being poisoned on a daily basis through the sky, you know, through what they could spray anything up there and people wouldn't know, you know, is the end result of what I realized. Like, even if it is just condensation, nobody knows the difference. You know, everybody I've tried to talk to about it basically blow it off. Like they're not that interested. So, you know, we very well could be getting sprayed with any number of poison. And that for me was like a scary thing to realize, that our reality could be that skewed, you know, that we're all getting sprayed like rats, right? And so I went through this experience of trying to impress upon other people, look what this means. And then combining that with what I learned about 9/11, like this means that we're owned by a very few people in the world. This means that this network of evil is entrenched and it's been around for generations. You know, the implications were so scary and so huge that I was kind of freaking out. And then come 7 years later, and everybody else is freaking out about something that I'm not worried about at all. You know, I'm like, you know, I'm not worried at all about getting sick. You know, I mean, it's nothing compared to what's going on around us in the sky every day, for instance. You know, it's just like when I compared the two things in my mind, I was just like, well, getting sprayed from the sky is a lot worse than everybody getting sick with the disease. That's way worse, you know. And no one cares about that. So, or driving, for instance, the way we drive cars is hella dangerous. The last thing I saw was over 2,000 people die on a California freeway every year. And it's like, well, that's pretty serious. Are we going to stop driving cars? You know what I mean? If we're that worried about 2,000 people dying. So it's just like, it made me realize that the way people are comparing things seems so far out. Let's see, what did Misty have to say there? It's all irrelevant. In 2008, I woke up to the most basic things, but I held on to the religious beliefs because I felt I was the only truth I had. Spiritual awakening can be paralyzing. Yeah, I think a lot of people have gone through this experience, and it's intense. The more you come to realize, it messes with your body, it messes with your soul. You have to rethink about everything. And that's why there's so much resistance to it. And that's why a lot of people aren't going to do it. But for those of us out there that have started this journey and that are on this journey, that's where I think it's important that people like you and I, James, keep pushing the ball forward and working on these things like we're doing, whether it's conferences or podcasts. So, you know, say a little more on that. And then I think we should transition and start talking some more about the upcoming conferences.
Well, I mean, just to touch on like that subject of, you know, the geoengineering and the chemtrails and everything like that. It's like, well, you can't disprove that it's happening. And the only people that are going to tell you that it's not happening are it's an appeal to authority, really. Like you're going to go, CNN says it's not happening, or the government says it's not happening. So that's good enough for me, you know. That's really not the route you want to be going down, is to be listening to them. So like, you know, questioning everything is a great thing to do, right? I would say that it's a great thing to do. It's just tough to stay on track of like, all right, so at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is like, there is a small group of people, you know, that are looking to control everyone. And they have no right to do that. you know. And so, okay, they're spraying chemtrails, they're doing all this crazy shit, they're poisoning us in the water, in the sky, and supposed medicines, right? These things that you know people are gravitating toward because they want to be healthy. They think they want to be healthy. They have a very, very, they've been lied to their entire lives about how to get healthy and everything, or they've made themselves unhealthy. And then the real way to get healthy is just too hard. So I'm just going to take some pills or something instead. I mean, it's an appeal to authority, in my opinion. And it's just tough. To what Misty said, it is a spiritual awakening being paralyzing. Yeah, I mean, it's frightening almost. It's like, holy shit! Like, it makes you really wish you had you had more time, or that it happened earlier. In 2008, that's pretty long time ago. So maybe not for you, but for some other people, maybe they wish they had it happen to them earlier, so it wouldn't have been as paralyzing. Maybe they wish that they were never lied to begin with. And I always like to remind people that we, as in the aggregate, will never really know for sure exactly what's going on until the condition of slavery has been ended. And to me, that's where our primary focus should be. Now, it's interesting, and these are topics to kind of get people's attention as far as things like chemtrails and geoengineering, things like 9/11 and all the lies and the scams and everything. These are definitely things that we should focus on, but it shouldn't be the primary focus. I believe that it's a way to get people's attention and to get people talking. I think that it should be under the umbrella of the condition of slavery that we're in, and that's the main problem. And that's what needs to end, because we're never going to know the truth about any of it until the slavery's done. And it's kind of, sometimes I get a little harsh about it. I get a little combative about it with other people when they want to talk about flat earth and all this other garbage nonsense. And I gotta be like, I gotta tell, like, I have some people that like to talk about flat earth. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, all right, I go on and on about it. I really could.
Well, I see both sides of that. It's like you said, question everything, right? Like, I'm down to question everything. And I'm curious about, some of the stuff I've seen. When the flat earth came out, it was very interesting, and it made me, I learned a lot about the lies of NASA, for instance. I have a whole different kind of viewpoint on what space might be than I used to. I have a whole bunch of new thoughts and ideas that I've formed since I started seeing people come out with those ideas. So I took it in a pretty positive way. That being said, I also see where there's division happening in the freedom community, if we could call it that, because of like that subject's one that is a good example of something that people will let it become a wedge in a relationship. Or the same way I've seen, I know two adult men who are like in their 50s, who'd been friends for like 40 years, right? Been at each other's families' weddings and funerals. And all of a sudden they disagree about Trump. And that's going to end their relationship. It's
Right.
like, what's the quality of your relationship when you can't get through a disagreement about the shape of the earth, or some fucking politician who really just wants you dead,
Yeah.
And that does piss me off, because like we have a real problem here, Like I was saying, things are getting worse quick, and if people can't agree about the most basic things and get along, how are we going to survive as a community? How is there going to be a freedom community if we can't even, come to terms with what is our most important thing to be discussing,
Yeah. Right. I mean,
we're gonna
I want to
lose friendships over that, you know?
yeah. I mean, I just want to make something absolutely clear about what I was trying to get at. It's like I'm not saying I'm not trying to be the thought police or anything like that. That's not my angle here. All I'm saying is that I've run across people that's their whole thing, right? Like that's their whole thing. That's all they talk about. That's like, hey, like that's great. It's a great thought to entertain and everything like that, but there's bigger fish to fry, you know. So sorry to use that kind of slang, but there's bigger things at stake here. And it's like that's a great topic, like I said before, to like grab people's attention and kind of bring them into the fold of like questioning authority and questioning what you've been told, and that's a great thing to do, and I want to nurture that in people. But there's the overall goal here is to end this condition of slavery that we're in, because we can talk about what the truth is about all these different subjects, but we'll never really know until that condition of slavery is ended. We'll never know what it's like to have free energy. We'll never know if the earth is flat or round, hollow, if it's a tetrahedron. We'll never know until this condition of slavery is ended. I know how it sounds, like I know how I come across when I'm saying this stuff, and I don't want to I need to stress it like and make it absolutely clear. I'm not trying to tell anybody to not focus on it. I'm just trying to encourage people to not get stuck on one topic. And if you're going to get stuck on a topic, get stuck on the one that's going to help you discover ways to make us free. Because we're talking about freedom. If that's the topic of discussion here, we're not going to gain freedom by focusing on if the earth is round or flat, and hell, even the chemtrails, we're not going to gain freedom by that being the only thing we focus on. We need to stop this evil shit that's going on. And there's a small group of people that think that they're better than you. They hate you, and they want to tell you what you can and cannot do with your body. They want your body to be their property. And that's what's going on right now. There are people out there that are signing treaties and making agreements with each other, and they think that you're just a pawn in their chess game. And that's not cool with me, and I'm not going to stand for it. I could sit here and talk about all these other little conspiracy theories and whatnot, but I don't think any of them really hold any water until something's done about these sick, psychopathic fucks that want to affect my life and my children's life, your life, Chris, my other friends' lives in this community. I don't think anything else matters. And if I'm coming across a little, jerky about that, I apologize to you personally.
Oh no, because I'm on the same page with you on that. I agree. The only thing I would caution is, from where I hear some people go from what you're saying, is we need to take those people out. Like that's the ultimate solution, is to track down these psychopaths and, destroy them or remove them from the earth. And I'm fairly certain that ain't going to solve the problem either, because it's the same thing that happened in the French Revolution. The people that start cutting off heads, eventually they're cutting off each other's heads, and then someone else is cutting off their head. And it just leaves room for, now the emperor comes in and takes over. Right. And it's like, what Will said earlier is very true, or what John said, the division is the psyop. And, if they can get us to be divided in all these little ways, they got us beat. The only way we stand a chance, and the actual most practical thing for most of us on a real level, day-to-day level, is to improve our own physical self. And that means doing things like yoga and exercise and meditation and self-work, so that we can be at the level to where we can understand things and discern truth and communicate with other human beings in a way that we don't have to offend them, and hurt their feelings. We have to work around people's sensitivities, because we're all so triggered and traumatized because of our fucked up lives leading to this point. Even me, like I'm sometimes I'm in a little bit of an emotional mess. I realize that, like, I've had to really learn to communicate better and to be more upfront and not have, like, get angry at someone, then don't say anything, and then it comes out later in some sneaky way. Like, these are the things that we got to work on to create freedom. I don't have a way to go shoot down all these like occult sorcerers. If I did, that would be it would probably be somewhat enjoyable. Then I would know exactly what to do. All I got to do is go shoot that guy, problem solved. But it's not that easy. And that's not how natural law works. It's all of
No.
us working together, right?
Right. And stooping to their level is not the solution. It's not, it's definitely not something that me personally would like try to influence anybody to do. What the influence is like trying to reach people with speech, trying to get them to change their minds for themselves and to start discerning for themselves what the truth is versus what they've been lied to about. And that can really change a lot. It can impact the world in a very, very healthy way. People coming into and lining up with natural law and objective morality and living their lives based on that instead of the lies and the deception that they have been living their lives based on for the foreseeable past. It's like not foreseeable, but you know what I'm trying to say.
As far as we've been able to see, right?
Yeah. It's as much as, government has existed throughout the course of human history, the recorded history, at least much of it. And it's just, I don't know, man. Who has all the answers, right? But
I do.
Well, okay then. But
no, I mean, that's partly why we're bringing people together, and that's why we have these conversations, because when you bring minds together, we can find the best of multiple minds, and that's why community is important. That's why groups are important. That's why working is important, and that's why I'm so excited about doing these conferences, because it's like things like that give an opportunity for the truth to emerge. And it doesn't just have to come from one mouth. You can hear what's coming from several different mouths and kind of say like, okay, here's the best of all that, So I'm curious how Shattering the Illusion. Tell me about how you got the idea, how you and Joe Murray started talking about this, how you got the inspiration. What's the idea behind the conference you're putting together?
All right. Well, real quick, the history pretty much goes a little something like this. I went out for breakfast on like a Saturday or Sunday morning, probably I think back in like January, maybe late December. Anywho, the breakfast place that I like going to is next door to a privately run theater. And I was sitting in the lobby of the theater looking around, and the owner of the theater was in there, and he's like telling me all about it, showing me all the PA system and everything. And I got this idea that maybe I could start writing some presentations and rent out the theater for a day. And I was talking to Joe about it, and Joe and I have become good friends over the past year, and talking to him about this theater and everything. He's like, oh, and he said to me, he said over the phone, he goes, we could do a conference. And I was like, really? You think that we could do that? Like, everyone's going to come to New Hampshire and do a conference at this little, 200 seat theater? All right, I guess it'd be pretty fucking expensive though. So, we started talking more about it and everything like that. And then it was just like, well, then we were like, what about an online conference? And next thing you know, like, we're talking about the Seed conference last year, and then you and Will and all the rest of your group there did the first FUNL conference. And it dawned on us that we can definitely do an online conference, and it would be a lot easier to do. So Joe and I have been pretty much just like got the fire lit, and we're just working hard. We putting a website together, making sure that we have the channels all set up and everything like that. And like what it really came down to was just like, we got to take advantage of the time that we have, and just put on this event to make sure that we can spread as much truth as possible, and invite as many people as we can, and try to have it just be one day event where it's not anything too overwhelming, for me personally, because I'm kind of a little bit more I don't know how Joe would feel about this, but he's told me in the past that he's like, working on his technical literacy. And I'm a little bit maybe a little bit better at it than he might be at the moment, but he's well on his way. And so it's like I'm going to be kind of, the MC, like DJ, kind of behind the scenes, making sure everything's happening and everything like that. But we were like, well, what do we were thinking to ourselves, like, I know I'm all over the place. But we were thinking to ourselves, like, what exactly would we want to do? Like, how, like, what would we call it? And we were just like throwing names back and forth. I forget which one of us said it, but we're talking about shattering the illusion and how authority is, man-made authority is really just an illusion. It's all just been set up, all these different prescribed beliefs and everything. They're just illusions, so we gotta like do away with those. We gotta shatter that illusion. It's like a pane of glass, just bust it. Just get, so how can we do that? Well, let's gather around some of the best speakers that we've met through the podcasting and everything like that. And so we were just like, I'm just like, all right, I got the guys, I got the guys I want to invite and everything like that. Of course, like I thought of Sean McCann, like first, because like one of my greatest friends for a very, very long time. And, without him, I wouldn't have met any of you guys. I met Ivan through Sean, and then through Ivan, I met like so many more people. And I met Will through Sean. Like after the Seed conference, Sean like told Will, like, hey, that kid that asked you that question, and after the conference, I know him. How about we all get together and do a podcast together? That's how I met Will. And I'm pretty sure I met you through Will. Or it was you and I met somehow. I can't fucking remember. It's like I'm sorry, but I can't. And but anyways, like, it's just everything just seemed to come together. And Mark Passio was helping me embed the Twitch stream onto the conference's website, and he and I were on like a Discord call, and he was like helping me out with the HTML embed code to put on the website to make sure that the Twitch stream was there and everything. And I just told him, like, hey, like, this is what you're helping me with. You're obviously invited. You know what you're doing clearly. Like, you're Mark fucking Passio. You know what you're doing. You're invited. And he's like, all right, I'm in. I was like, whoa, really? No kidding. So that was a very great surprise, kind of like random surprise there. But I'm just floored with the amount of just for one day to have like the people that are involved in this, like, it's just amazing to me that to be able to put something like this on and to really just put the effort in to just give a platform to make sure that like there's enough of the speech going out, because I really do think that there is still time to reach people and to change without anything going hot. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's like the principle of like vibration comes to mind, where if we're speaking it out and putting it out, then it is affecting some change for the better, and in a very, very positive way, where we're not initiating harm. And that's my biggest focus. And that's what I'm most excited to do a conference like this about. That's why I do the podcasting. That's why I like all the speaking that I do, even in the real world where I speak to people on the street. I don't record it like some other people. I wish I did sometimes, because I have some pretty good conversations with people like at the store and everything, but I can't be walking around with a camera all day, every day. But like, who
Get
needs
the GoPro on your
right.
head.
Yeah,
I thought about it.
Yeah, be like James O'Keefe from Project Veritas and have it in my glasses or something, like, who knows? But then, I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
You got me thinking about something, like an allegory, example, metaphor I like to use. when people are new to the idea of natural law, one of the simple explanations I like to give is just everything we do matters, right? Every little thing matters, everything we do. And so an allegory for that is, imagine when you're a little kid and you're sitting by a lake and you pick up a little rock and you throw it in the water. Well, the water reflects that action all the way across, the other side of the lake, right? And you start throwing in more rocks and it makes more and more waves, right? You see the rings ever expanding. You can't throw a rock in the water without making those rings. It's impossible. Yeah. And it's the same thing with our words and our actions. Everything you do is reverberating out and affecting everything else. So when we're doing something like this, like putting our minds together for a conversation and focusing, that's a big deal. Now, if we can get 10 people to do that, that's a bigger deal. It makes a bigger wave, right? And so these conferences we're trying to put together, from my mind, it really creates that opportunity for a bigger wave to pulsate out. And I'm really excited about it. A lot of times doing the podcast by myself, it feels really like an uphill battle. And I feel like giving up a lot of times because, you get a couple people listening, maybe every once in a while somebody gets inspired and writes you a little letter or something. But for the most part, it feels like it's falling on deaf ears. But when we start working together on it and we start putting together a conference, boom, all of a sudden we see more people reacting and a bigger action happening. So, for me, the FUNL conference was really a culmination of a lot of work of being part of that group, our Natural Freedom Alliance that we created, and seeing us work together. Certain aspects of the work fall more on people that have the skills, like you're saying. Will Keller's been our kind of main production guy. He does a lot of the art, all the art pretty much. And so a lot of that work falls on his shoulders, but everybody else in the group helps in their own way and jumps in when they can. And we learn from him the things he's doing that look good, So yeah, I'm really excited about this September and having your guys' conference on, it's the 24th, correct?
That's correct.
Shattering the Illusions on the 24th. And then FUNL 2 is going to occur on September 10th and 11th. It's going to be a 2-day event. And we've got quite a few speakers lined up. I want people to go check out freedomundernaturallaw.com and look at the speaker lineup. It's getting pretty exciting. And register so that I can send an email and let you know when there's changes and updates, And so I'm pretty fired up about it. And I really need to start I am working on it every day, what I want to say and how I want to say it. But I think the key is kind of like what I'm pointing out in this episode is that it's really up to each of us to work on ourselves and then start working on this networking thing. Like how you said, I'm not even sure how we met. I can't exactly remember either, but it was because we were both putting our intention out there. We were putting ourselves in those places where we're going to be found by other people with like minds. You're never going to find the other people with like minds if you don't put yourself out there so you can be found.
Yeah. I have a favor to ask of you. If that's not, don't give up, please. As many times as you might be second guessing yourself, or you might feel like, oh shit, maybe who knows what it is. Maybe it's feelings of foolishness or whatever it is that's making you have those doubts. It just means that you're growing. It just means that you're seeing in yourself opportunity to learn more and to be better. And you inspire me, so don't give up.
Far from it.
And like I look forward to hearing you have this great knack of like solutions and a positive mental attitude. Even when it's the dark and dreary stuff, which from time to time you do get into, I still hear it that like you're doing it to expose it, to find a solution to it, not to dive down a dark rabbit hole and to stay there, but to like see it, look at that shit and figure out a way to get through it, So yeah, don't give up.
Oh, no way. I'm just saying, I'm trying to share that I have those thoughts and feelings. It's hard, it's not always easy. And I have to battle those, So That's
But
just to let other people out there. I mean, I think a lot of people are crippled by their own mental constructs. I can't do it. It's going to be too hard. I don't have the skills. Well, reach out and find someone who has what you don't have. Do what you can until then. And then, the universe kind of is amazing in the way of when you take a step of faith, it shows up for you. And I think, to me, that's faith is a tricky word. I spent some time in my podcast trying to define that word, and I don't like to see it the way that a lot of people see it. I don't think it's just, it almost could be the same thing as giving up, right? In some people's minds, having faith. But I see it more like, as you're learning something, you have faith in yourself that even though there's going to be obstacles, you're going to push through. And I know something deep down about myself is that I don't really give up. I find a new tactic, I go a new direction, but I don't give up. It goes so against my grain. So when you hear me saying, "Oh, I felt like giving up," that's kind of me saying, I found a way to get around that feeling,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's the way
That's
I look
great.
at it. So
I just never, I just don't like, I don't know, good people saying that they're thinking about giving up. I take it upon myself to be like, no, don't. It's just like, you just never know, you want to be like a part of the positivity without ignoring the bad shit, like the new age stuff where it's like, don't look at the negative. You're just going to give it more energy. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying it's just like when you hear somebody being like, oh shit, am I doing the right thing? And they are doing the right thing. Go, no, dude, you are doing the right thing. You encourage it. That's where I come from with that. And I don't want to see you giving up.
No, I'm glad too, because you're like one of the faces that would come into my head if I did, it'd be like, there's James like, no. Like, yeah, right on. Really, I really appreciate the compliment. And, I'd swear every time when I've had those thoughts, something has happened. There's come through. Jerry, he was on the show tonight. He popped through with an email or a message for me on Discord, or it'd be someone else who would send me a little email saying how much one of the episodes meant to them. And I'd be like, see, people are paying attention. You are reaching people, or the message is getting out there. And we all need each other. We all need to keep, it's not an easy path we're on here. I mean, in some ways, I almost feel like, we watched 300 recently, right? Those guys had to go defend the pass with their swords, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the toughness that those guys did growing up as a warrior physically, but in some ways it would be easier. Like I was saying, if all we had to do was go shoot the bad guys, or go pull out a sword and die fighting, but what we have is like this weird intellectual discernment, kind of figure out what's the right thing, how to get along with each other to form, when everything seems like an illusion, we're living in an illusion, and we have to try to tell people that it's an illusion. It's like all these weird subtle layers, right? And then even the slavery thing, like you say, we're in slavery and people don't want to believe it because they can't see it. They don't see the chains connected to my arms and legs, and so it's like this weird subtle spiritual journey, and it's tricky. It's not easy. It requires a lot of willpower, and so thank you for encouraging me and being another bright light out there. I really appreciate that. It keeps me going.
That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here for. If I'm not good at podcasting and relaying information, I do know I'm good at one thing, and that's encouraging people, bringing people together. Puts a big ear to ear smile on my face, which is to bring it back to the conference. Another reason why I really wanted to do that when the opportunity was proposed to me, when Joe was like, hey, we should do this. And I was like, yeah, let's do that, because I really like bringing people together. Like, there's been a couple of instances where people have met each other on my show and I didn't know it. I'm just like, and next thing you know, I'm like hearing, like Will, for instance, we had a roundtable discussion, and Will, for instance, was like, hey, Nathan, nice to meet you. It was Nathan Redette and Will Keller meeting for the first time. And I'm just like, wow, really? I didn't know they didn't know like they hadn't met. I was like, holy shit, they're meeting because of an idea I had that brought people together. Like, it made me just so happy. So bringing people together and like encouraging people when I see them doing the right thing, like that's something that I know I'm I know I'm good at, and like that's something that I know I can do. You know, the other stuff, yeah, there's some work that needs to be done for sure. We all have work to do, right? But
You got it. You got it, buddy.
But like, yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, I'm really excited for the future, even as dark and dreary as it looks. I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, we might be swimming in shit, but at least we're swimming in shit together.
Right. I brought my snorkel. Yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks so much, everybody who came and commented. You know, Jen and Rob and John and Misty and Jerry. And, you know, I really appreciate people that came and showed up in the comments, and Will. And thanks you, James, for being here tonight and spending this time with me. I think we'll have to do another podcast. Maybe I'll come on your show leading up to our conferences, and then I'm really looking forward to the conferences too. It's going to be exciting. So yeah, I really appreciate it, man. I think I'm about to close up the show. Any last words or thoughts you wanted to pop out there before I roll the end stuff?
Go to shatteringtheillusion.info to learn more about the event that I'm putting on. And, you know, contact me through there, or, you know, you can go. And also my other website is freeyourmindne.com. So go check that out too. Live stream pretty much every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And you know, I don't know, man. I really thank you very much for inviting me on, and you know, spending time with me too, man. I really appreciate it. And everyone that was in, like you said, everyone that was in the chat, like it, you know, it's always kind of cool to see the feedback in real time. You know, I don't really get a lot of that on my broadcasts or anything like that, but yeah, it's neat.
Yeah,
to
that's
see.
a really cool thing about the restream. I'm enjoying. You know, it's kind of opened up this new dimension to the podcast. You know, like I really want it to be more inclusive, like get people involved. You know, just hearing myself talk gets old.
Yeah. But I mean, for the very, very last words from me tonight, I guess I would just say, you know, like people out there, you know, there's opportunity to take our destinies in our own hands, I guess, something like that. You know, it's time that we stand in our power and take our freedom back. Try to do it peacefully. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we still can.
Yeah.
Good words, James. Much appreciated, my man.
Yeah. Man.
All right. Let's see if I can work my technology here and bring the outro in, and then I'll roll a little bit more of the music that shows our at the end. I'll play the music, and it shows our the advertisements for the funnel and the advertisement for the Shattering the Illusion. And we'll be in touch, James, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon, my man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, here we go.